Hello, and welcome to my channel. Today we're diving into the wild world of criminal law defenses, specifically those defenses where you did the crime, but maybe, just maybe, your brain didn't let you do it on purpose. We're talking insanity, automatism, intoxication, legal terms with very real consequences. You might think, oh, insanity plea, that's just for axe murderers trying to get off easy, right? It's way more nuanced than that. We're going to untangle these defenses, look at when they work, when they don't, and why a drunken mistake is different from a legally defined mental break. Buckle up! All right, let's talk insanity. This defense isn't about whether you think Nickelback is a good band. That's just poor taste, not a legal defense. We're talking about a legal principle dating back centuries, with the idea that we shouldn't punish people who genuinely can't understand their actions. Seems fair, right? Like, if your brain's on strike, you shouldn't be held to the same standard as someone whose mental gears are turning smoothly. But here's the rub: proving insanity in court is tough. You need to convince the court that at the time of the crime you were so out of touch with reality, so detached from reason that you either didn't know what you were doing, Oregon, you didn't get that it was wrong. We're talking severe mental illness interfering with your fundamental understanding of right and wrong. Think along the lines of schizophrenia, severe bipolar disorder, delusional states, serious stuff. Now, you might have heard of the Monotone rule. Basically, it says you need to prove a defect of reason stemming from a disease of the mind. It's intentionally broad to cover a range of mental conditions, but that also makes it harder to prove. Lawyers have to explain complex concepts in a way that makes sense, and then convince juries that sometimes the brain can malfunction so severely that it impacts someone's ability to understand their own actions. It's a high bar, and rightfully so. We don't want people faking mental illness to escape justice, but it's also important to remember that mental illness is real, and sometimes it can lead to tragic situations where the line between right and wrong gets incredibly blurry. Okay, now imagine this. You're walking down the street, minding your own business, when suddenly, bam, you black out. You come to, surrounded by confused onlookers, a smashed shop window, and a very angry chihuahua wearing a monocle. That, my friends, is where the automatism defense comes in. It's like your body decided to throw a surprise party, and you're the one stuck cleaning up the mess. Automatism is all about involuntary actions. It says that if your body was acting independently of your conscious mind, you can't be held responsible. Think of it like a legal, my bad, my hand slipped, but for potentially more serious situations. This defense covers things like sleepwalking, seizures, even getting knocked unconscious and then committing a crime while your brain is still rebooting. But here's the catch. You have to prove that you had absolutely zero control over your actions. If the prosecution can argue that you had even a sliver of awareness, that you could have stopped yourself, well, good luck with that. Automatism argues that you weren't even in the conductor's booth when it went off the rails. Proving this defense is no walk in the park. You'll likely need expert witnesses, medical records, maybe even eyewitness testimony to back up your claim. It's a tough sell, but hey, so is explaining to a judge why you accidentally bought 500 rubber chickens while sleepwalking to walking. Chapter 3. Intoxication. The old "I was drunk, I didn't know what I was doing" defense. It's the legal equivalent of trying to blame your actions on your evil twin, except instead of a twin, it's a bottle of tequila. Now, before you go thinking you've got a free pass to go on a crime spree every time you hit happy hour, let's pump the brakes. The intoxication defense is about as straightforward as a game of Twister played in a hurricane. It's messy, unpredictable, and you're likely to end up in a pretzel-shaped legal mess. The law distinguishes between two types of intoxication, voluntary and involuntary. Voluntary intoxication is pretty self-explanatory. You chose to consume that questionable moonshine, and surprise, surprise, you made some questionable choices afterward. Involuntary intoxication, on the other hand, is when you're tricked or forced into consuming something, or if you have an unexpected reaction to medication. Think getting roofied, or your friend spiking the punch bowl with something a little stronger than Hawaiian punch. Voluntary intoxication might, and I stress might, be a defense to certain crimes, particularly those that require specific intent. This means that the prosecution has to prove you intended to commit the crime, and being drunk can sometimes muddy those waters. But, and this is a big, but voluntary intoxication is rarely a defense for crimes that only require general intent, like assault. Involuntary intoxication, on the other hand, has a better track record. If someone slipped something in your drink and you ended up dancing on a police car, you've got a stronger case for arguing that you weren't in control of your actions. But here's the bottom line. Don't rely on the intoxication defense. It's a long shot, and frankly, there are easier ways to avoid jail time. Like, I don't know, not committing crimes in the first place, just a thought. So, there you have it. The wacky world of insanity, automatism, and intoxication defenses. These legal loopholes aren't get-out-of-jail-free cards. They're more like maybe get a slightly shorter sentence if you're lucky and have a good lawyer cards. These defenses are complex, require mountains of evidence, and even then, success is far from guaranteed. It's not as simple as showing up in court with a doctor's note saying, yeah, they were a bit bonkers that day. If you find yourself facing charges and think one of these defenses might apply to you, put down the DIY legal website and call a real live lawyer. Because when it comes to the law, winging it is about as effective as a chocolate fireguard. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And remember, stay in school, don't do drugs, and for goodness sake, drink responsibly.